totally about traumatize your kids, y'all. Like, not like trauma, but like this is safe trauma. This is just they have a few nightmares and you have conversations about it. Like, everything's fine at the end of the day. And now they know that life can be that way.
Yeah.
Now they don't want life to be that way. They gotta be nice. So ultimately you win.
You make them watch it, and then whenever they act out of line, you gotta be like, should I get your other mother in here?
Other Cat.
And I'm Other Gabe. And we're the other Ghouls next door.
Yes. Everything's better in the other Ghouls next door.
Yeah. Where we talk about other spooky stuff.
The better spooky kind. Everyone's favorite, the slashers. Everything's great here. What food do you like? We'll make that.
We'll do whatever you want so that you stay around, and we'll fatten you up, but because we love you, not because we want to eat you.
I'll sing you a song, because I'm not other mother, I'm other dad in that scenario. That's fine. It's fine. Let's go with it.
All right. This is a podcast about Coraline, if you didn't notice.
Yep.
You can open your eyes now, Kat.
Yes. Buttons are gone.
Yeah, who needs buttons?
Glasses are back.
Yeah.
The gift of sight. Foggy sight. What is that?
Because we're wearing masks. Welcome back to the Ghouls Next Door. It is a spooky month, as it is every year. It happens to us.
The spookiest time of all.
Yeah, and we are, as mentioned before, talking about kids in horror, and talking about just their experiences, what it means.
Yeah, the kids are all right, you know. Sometimes they're the smartest. Sometimes they're little idiots. It really depends on which kid you get.
Yeah.
And also, like, I was like, all kids can't, be smart. I'm not trying to be a jerk. But I'm more so saying, it's like, sometimes they're the ones who know more about the spooky thing that's happening. Sometimes they're more in tune with arguably the other side. We had a whole episode about why kids are scary. This isn't that. This is the kids just know what's up.
Yeah.
And the adults are not being good adult people.
Yes.
Because they were once kids and no one helped them, and it's sad.
Yeah. Well, also kids are new to trauma and what's happening to them. And so they manifest an understanding in the way that kids do, which is with magical beings and other worlds. Yes, imagination.
Rainbow.
Yes.
That's formed. I see it.
Yes. So today we're talking about Coraline. Make sure if you like us in our episode, you want to celebrate our 3 years of being online, give us a like and a subscribe on iTunes and on YouTube, because that matters to us and we appreciate it.
Monetize our presence.
Yeah, and also give us a comment. Tell us what you like. I think it's surprising we haven't done an episode on Coraline yet.
Yeah, it's like one of the better spooky kid times. Like spooky movie for children.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Tell us what it's about, Kat.
No.
Oh.
Okay. So, plot summary. An adventurous 11-year-old girl finds another world that is strangely idealized version of her frustrating home. So it's the better one.
Yeah.
But it has sinister secrets. So yeah, so it's about a kid.
Yeah.
Whose parents are kind of neglectful.
Yeah.
And they're going through a lot. And she's going through a big move.
Yeah.
She moves to this new place.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like weird and spooky times.
Yeah. It is made by Leica, so it's claymation, so it took a long time. It is based on the graphic novel by Neil Gaiman, who's one of my favorite writers. I have not read Coraline. I have just seen the movie, but I've read other books and short stories of his. And he does have a tendency to write about, trauma with youth and how it like personifies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it makes sense that this is what it is. I think it's a great kind of combination. Gaiman has also done like other comics and graphic novels,
Mm-hmm.
and so we've seen those come to life, and it's super exciting. So this was just one of those that just kind of sticks out and exists on its own, even.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and people
And-
like appreciate it.
Yeah, it has like a lot of elements from a lot of other stories, and that there's this kind of diving down the rabbit hole. It's like a young child who's going to this other space. So it's
Mhm.
like you could think like Wizard of Oz,
Alice in
or
Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland. You know, they're going places that the adults in their lives have not seen and like don't understand.
Yeah.
And they seem kind of like out there, and there's a reason they're going there.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, so the beginning when you find out that Coraline has just moved to this new house, they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. She's an adventurous kid. It reminded me of Inside Out. Because that was like one of the big problems that I forget her name, but the main character was like, that was one of the inner conflicts she had, was that she moved, she was away from her friends, and she was
Mhm.
going through all this, and her family didn't understand because she was like just trying to laugh it off and not feel her emotions. And I feel like Coraline is kind of like the opposite, where she was like, I am miserable and I want you to know.
Yeah.
And you're ignoring me, which makes me want you to know even more. And I think so, like, when it starts, we have Coraline kind of exploring, and she's like following this cat, and she's trying to find the well. And
Yeah.
she's using her stick, but
Yeah,
it's
her finder stick.
the
I don't-
wand.
Yeah.
And she runs into Wybe, which is a character we'll definitely talk about in depth. But when her interaction with him, we were like, wow, she is a little B-word.
Like, she's mean. Like,
she's so rude.
She's like, for someone who just moved and doesn't have any friends, she's not trying to make any.
Yeah.
But like, it's definitely, you can tell, like, she's just like, I don't like you.
Mhm.
Get on my I'm doing my thing.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk to me, but I don't want to talk to anybody else either. It's like an introvert.
Yeah.
You know?
And Wybe really tries. Like,
Mhm.
he's like a young boy, so he's not exactly great at it.
Yeah. You can tell there's not a lot of like other kids in this area. Like, there's that's something that's brought up in the beginning, you know, that there's not a lot of kids that rent at the...
They're not allowed.
Yeah. What's the palace called? It's like Pink Palace or
something like that. I forget.
So he's like a little awkward, maybe not just like, because it's been summer, so like, you know, they're getting ready for school. He hasn't like had a lot of friends to hang out with, so he's like kind of like an awkward early late middle schooler aged kid.
Yeah.
Has to be like second or fourth grade maybe.
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell ages because they're cartoons.
Yeah, I think they're like, I would say middle school is or like late elementary school, maybe like 4th or 5th grade. I don't know. I feel that we should probably looked it up, but yeah, I feel like Wybe is really. I feel for Wybe really strongly. It kind of was similar to, not exactly similar, but in that like I didn't really like, you know, we don't love Sabrina, because we're like, we sympathize with the other characters, which just happens with protagonists. But as soon as we get home and we see the mom who's just like already over Coraline, even though she hasn't been here all day, and it's just like, if I do this thing, will you leave me alone? Yeah. And it's like, you had a child. You have to understand that you're that child's whole life, and you don't stop being that. Like, you gotta do it.
Yeah, like at no point is that like obligation gone.
Yeah.
And that also, like, okay, the whole thing is like, if you're gonna have kids, like, want to have them.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
And it's definitely like a whole time, like, you can tell like she's tired. You don't know the reason necessarily. There's like hinting to like a car accident that happened. There's like their jobs that are very demanding. There's kind of like this conflict between the mom and the dad. And none of that's like kind of explained or outlined to you, but you kind of sense it. And the mom's clearly like, she goes that like back and forth that parents often will do, is where they say something really rude And then later they try to act all nice.
Yeah.
As a way to like kind of, they won't say sorry, but they're just trying to make up for it. And then that kind of makes it like worse because you're just like, then just apologize.
Yeah, just do better.
Parents can be wrong. It's okay. Say sorry. It's no one will, your authority will not shatter before you into a million pieces. The child will still respect you. If anything, it teaches them emotional empathy. But yes, so you kind of get why she's kind of rude because her mom's kind of rude.
Yeah.
And her dad's also like, he's a little sweeter around the edges, but he's still also like, I'm busy, leave me alone.
Yeah, he's also over her. And, you know, what I got from it was definitely that like the mother is the one with the power in this relationship. Like she's the head of the household, which I can
she's the one making the
understand. She's, you know, like he works for her, right? And I come from a matriarchal family, so I know what that's like. But like even when she comes in to tell him about dinner or like or to ask her dad something, he says like, "What did the boss say?"
Yeah,
right? Because that's the mom. And I also think like when we do eventually go to the other world and we meet other mother and other father is very much also a victim in this. Like he's a gourd. He says hungry as a pumpkin, and then later we realize he really is a pumpkin.
Yeah.
But like he is just a tool because it is the other mother who is holding it. And I think you know, when we put on our media analysis glasses and we look at this situation, I think what is clearly happening is we have an angry, I would say borderline abusive parent, if anything neglectful. And when you have like, oftentimes we see the true face of our parent, right? Like we know what they really are. But those kinds of parents also have this other face that they show to everyone else, right? Like they're the ones who are like, people love hanging out with them. They're super like charismatic. People love being around them. They light up the room, and people are always like, "Oh my God, your parent is so great!" Like, aren't you like? And you're just like, you have no idea what I'm dealing with
emotionally inside.
Yeah, like this is the worst. You could have them, and so I think like that's kind of what we're seeing here is this two sides, and it's kind of like there's also that thing with like abuse where you are abused and then they turn around and they do really nice things for you. And they make you kind of second guess yourself and they gaslight you into this point where you're like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm like thinking like I'm you know, they were just tired.
Yeah. You start making excuses for them. Yeah.
Because when they're good, they're so good, right? Like they're like the best parent you could have. And so you kind of hold on to that when things get bad. And that happens with a lot of any type of abuse, right? Like that just, whether that's relationship or parental or what have you. And I think that's really what Coraline is struggling with, is that she's seeing the good mom and she's like, this is like, I love her, she's great. And confronting with the fact that they're actually the same, honestly, because in the end, when the kids are freed after she found their buttons and stuff, she's like, I'm glad we're all good. And they're like, we're good, you're not. Like, you're still in danger, right? Like you're still doing it. And I think that is interesting because it's kind of left open. Like, is other mother going to come back, or are these really her parents? Like, is this reality?
Yeah, there's definitely this question. You do have like the kind of, I guess in a way, trying to tie it up at the end with the hand coming through the wall and her trapping it in the well. But yeah, I mean, you definitely just have like this mom who's clearly tired and disappointed with a lot of things in her life and is not processing that in a healthy way and is not taking it in her family in a healthy way. Like if she's unhappy, therapy exists, and you know, having open and honest conversations about why you're upset and stuff like that exist. But you kind of like don't see that in the film. It's kind of like, can you just be easy?
Yeah.
Which is something I feel like kids get a lot, because kids are a lot. Kids are a lot of energy. They're new. They're new to the world. Everything is exciting. They want to be constantly entertained. They want to know everything. They want to know, like, what is that? Where is that? Who's that from? Like, what,
why?
Why everything?
Yeah.
And it's there's this curiosity because they've not had the exhausting life that is what it is to become an adult. You know, you don't have all this kind of existential dread when you're a kid. Everything is new and hopeful, and you have like all this potential for what life can be. And you just want to know where and what everything is. And adults are so tired.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that really honestly in Coraline. And you see this like kind of like unhealthy processing of it and neglectful relationships, which is, I would argue, like even when they go into the other world, like you were saying, like the two sides, that like the other mother is clearly showing how like predators can trap people into being like overly gift giving, overly welcoming, giving all your favorite foods, buying you like stuff like that, like going kind of like all in.
Yeah.
And then later showing kind of monstrousness.
And then it's too late.
And then you're in there and you're like, oh God, what have I done?
Yeah.
I want to go back. Let me go back. And for a lot of people, you can't. So.
Yeah. And I think it's also like when we were looking up like articles, there's not a lot of articles on it.
There weren't.
Which was like kind of wild. Because I feel like there's a lot that's being said, and when you watch it, you can kind of feel that. But one of the articles that you found was mentioning mind control, which doesn't exist. Mind control isn't real.
Yeah.
You can't control minds, but you can influence minds.
Yeah, you can manipulate people.
Yes, right. And you can, you know, gaslight them into thinking that there's a different reality, right? Like people can succumb to conspiracy theories and all that. And kind of what I saw was a little bit of like cult mentality. So like with a cult, it's like they lure you in with like, this is your family. These are people that understand you. When you are easy prey because you are a loner. You are outside. No one knows you or loves you or cares about you. You feel that way at the very least. And so they kind of show that to you, and they give you all these like hopes and dreams, and you believe in it. And then you spend so much of your life and your energy and your beliefs in that, to the point where when things start to go left and it gets violent or it gets scary, it's kind of too late. Like, you're already in too deep, and to get out of it means to completely like, well, one is to admit you were wrong and to admit that you were weak, right? And that you fell prey to this thing. But also just like, you have to like rework your whole brain into believing this other thing. I think what's interesting is the other kids that the mom has. That's the stories that I would like to see more of. Is like, I think it would have been pretty cool, and I don't know if this is in the book again because I haven't read it. But I think it would have been cool if like when we see those kids and they're kind of telling their story, if we got a flashback. Yeah. To like what their lives were like. Because one kid looks like he probably worked like on a farm or in a mine. It's probably like miserable. And I mean, Neil has had some hit and misses for sure. You know, he's had some controversial uses of like a trans character and the way that trans character was portrayed and ultimately meets their end is upsetting, but it can also, like, parts of it was also empowering, and so it's really up to the viewer and to also think about what his intent was, but of course impact over intent. But I think there is a problem with Wybe's character that really upset me. And I think well, Kat, you brought it up. You just mentioned like this is just like it feels like another case of, you know, we have this character and we didn't take into account what it means to have this character. We didn't take into account the person that this character would be given the way that the world sees you. And which, like, it happens. And this is older. It was before there was, as much gatekeeping and us and people like us being like, you gotta worry about representation. Like, don't put like a young black boy in here if you're just gonna use him and then you're gonna silence him. Like we have done and have him be like the self-sacrificing black friend for this little white girl. Who's literally just like a little side friend whose only purpose wasn't in the book. Literally was put in there so Coraline would not talk to herself. Is what they said. And so he wasn't in the book? No, he wasn't in the book. Okay, so Neil doesn't have to do it. Okay. Yeah, it has nothing to do with Neil. He was added in to the movie because specifically they didn't want it to be like Coraline was talking to herself and didn't have any friends. So they made it so that there was a friend who was there to like help her along the way, but also didn't make it so she's just like hallucinating. Gotcha. Well,
So that's extra not great. Because
Yeah.
it's literally like they give him no character substance. They gave him very minimal of a backstory. And then literally he's said a bunch of stuff at the very beginning. Coraline decided she did not like that he talked a lot. And then he was silenced for the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm. And continued to help her.
Mm-hmm. And sacrificed his life in the other world for her.
And she's mean.
Yeah.
She's never not mean.
She has
up
never
until
done
the end. Even in the
anything
end.
to inspire that kind of relationship. There's not this kinship between them. She is actively telling him to go away. Like, there's nothing that's like, oh yeah, let's be best friends. You should sacrifice yourself for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it in the sense that Other Mother, like, made this world to entirely revolve around her. So, like, that's obviously not actually Wybe, and this is Other Mother's creation of Wybe.
Yeah.
But just the fact that...
But it is a manifestation of what Other Mother imagines she wanted from Wybe.
Yeah.
So it's even worse, because now he's, like, completely removed from his personhood and is just, like, the gourd.
Yep. No, exactly. And it's definitely... It wasn't thought through. It wasn't, like... Or if it was, that's messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just didn't think of what it would mean to choose a black boy as her best friend and to not give him any character development, kill him off, and silence. Like, that's just messed up.
Yeah. When Other Mother mentions, like, you thought he talked too much, so I silenced him. Or I shut him up or something like that. I was like, ouch. Like, it hurt, like, to hear that. And I was like, Wybe. And the fact that she, like, calls him, why were you born? And all these things. And it's like, you don't think he gets that enough? It like, really, it killed, like, it made me really not empathize with Coraline. Like, I get she's going through a lot and all of that, but it like, was really hard for me.
It's just like, I don't like her. Oof. And also,
and I just feel bad that she's like that. Like, I feel bad that she's very, like, hurt people, right?
Yeah.
And I get that. Like, this is what she knows. Like, she doesn't, clearly she knows how to have friends, because she had two, right? At least in that picture.
Yeah. I very much imagine this is not in any way what they were trying to do. Because, one, I don't know who made this, like, film in terms of what their nationality is. But I don't even know if a paper could be written about it, but it's a very clear representation of the danger of a white woman to a black man.
Yeah.
In that she says a thing, the world handles it, and it's gross. Like, it's like when white women call the police on black men. Police don't do their job, or I guess they do. They do messed up things and murder people. And it's like, because the white lady's like, they're being loud. I feel unsafe for them just being human.
Yeah, I'm in the park and he's bird watching. And
that's honestly, like, Coraline complains about Wybe. Wybe gets his literal mouth sewn shut.
And she didn't feel bad.
No.
She wasn't like...
She's like, oh, good, my now silent friend.
Yeah, for a minute she was like, oh, this happened to you. And then she's like, ignore, because I'm going to, like... Because this is about me.
I'm going to save these other children, not you. It's fine if you sacrifice yourself, very alive child. I must save the souls of the dead ones.
Yeah. There was actually... So I had seen a Twitter thread, and I by the time this comes up, I will have images on YouTube of the Twitter thread. But as of right now, I do not have it. I know, I apologize. But it was this really great Twitter thread about BIPOC being silenced in film and not having their voice. For specifically, one of the more recent ones is Kimiko in The Boys, is played by Karen Fukuhara, who's also played, oh my God, it's killing me. I always forget her name, but she was in Suicide Squad for a minute, and she's just like the Asian superhero. And her name is like Katana, I think.
Yeah.
And she's also silent because she speaks another language, so the whole time she's like, I saved one snarky thing. The thing about her is that she's also the voice of Glimmer in She-Ra, and she's the voice of Kipo in the Age of the Wonder Beast.
Oh my gosh,
and so it's like, she's very capable of emoting and being an amazing...
her for why?
Right? And it had this whole list of all these characters who had something that would be debilitating, like the one Asian character in Pitch Perfect. And how she, like, whispers the whole time, right? And so, like, I had read through that and I was like, oh my God, it's so true. There's so many of those characters where they just like totally take their voice. Like they literally take her voice. Like how awful is that?
The one I viscerally remember is Lizzie McGuire, the little brother's friend. He's the only black character that I can remember, and he doesn't speak.
He just like
he
agrees
speaks
with him
through the little white boy whose name I forget. And I remember like watching it, like, because I got Disney Plus and I rewatched it as an adult, and I was like, what the hell? Like, ew. Oof. Why is he not saying words? Because, like, you know, now I'm media analysis classes and, like, aware. When I was, like, 10, I was like, TV! But now I'm like, what? What? That little boy is in so many episodes, and he says 0 words.
Yeah, he's like,
that one bothered me a lot after rewatching it as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so as soon as they took Wybe's voice, I was like, I'm gonna throw in a towel. Because, like, are you kidding me? And I get it, again, because this is older, and there's a lot of things that I did enjoy. I don't want us to, like, harp forever, but it is important, and, like, you know, coming, you know, fresh into, you know, Media Literacy Week, right? You have to think about how, like, people need to be more conscious. Like, if you're gonna put a POC in your film, you do need to be conscious of their experience. Like, they're gonna have a different experience than like your white characters are gonna have, and it's gonna be more like, you have to think about the way that cinema and media has handled and portrayed and represented those characters. Like, what other harmful things have happened to them in the past that you should shy away from? Like, and it's ignorance isn't an excuse at that point. It's like, you really should do your due diligence, and one, ask a person of color. Not to say, like, I don't know who's on the team at Leica, but I'm willing to bet that it's a lot of white people.
I mean, when did it come out? 2000s, early 2000s, I would also guess.
Yeah. Like, we weren't doing give us jobs kind of thing.
And I mean, it's just like thinking about, I feel like it should just be a token. If you're going to have side characters, they should be well developed. Otherwise, don't put them in there. There shouldn't be any filler character. There should be a person who's a person. And then maybe that'll help people who, like, don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like, because you can't just put a character in there for no reason.
Yeah.
You can't just, and especially if you're going to make them a black kid or a POC or anything like that, you can't just throw them in there like, hey, whatever happens to them, there's not history. Just let it be. And it's like, and I don't want it to be like a thing where it's like, don't put people of different representations in things. No, you need to, but you need to be mindful of, like, how you're portraying them.
Yeah. I think, like, because another question I had was, like, Wybe lives here. And he's lived here his whole life. Other mother doesn't want him? Other mother didn't make a doll for him? He doesn't have other grandmother on the other side waiting for him? Like, I was like,
they didn't live in the Pink Palace, but yes.
But, like, he had the doll. The doll was, like, and he just happened to find it and he gave it to her, right? There was no doll of him. Other mother don't want to know? Right? Because I'm sure he could have gone in that house. Like, I'm sure he's like, he's around, you know, rummaging around. So there's a whole other part of this that I cannot deduce why it exists. It's fun. And that's the other characters that are in here. I don't really know what they're doing. Like, media analysis glasses on, I'm like,
yeah, for some reason there's a Chernobyl survivor.
Yes. And then there's 2 women who may be gal pals, or like gal pals, you know what I'm saying?
Like,
just 2 gal pals living together, living their lives out,
doing their theater dreams.
Yeah. Like shifty eyes. There's a Chernobyl cleanup crew member, which is the Strachinovsky or whatever. I forget his name. Oh my god.
Yeah, in the book it's like Bobo, which is very weird.
Yeah, and he has his mouse circus. And it's fun. He's a crazy character. It's really kooky. I think he's fun. And he's blue, so it's like maybe that has to do with it. And the mom presumes that he's drunk.
Oh, interesting.
She says like, in so many words, essentially calls him that. And she, in the end, says he's not. He's just eccentric. That's what Coraline says. And then the 2 ladies who live downstairs were performers, and they have really yappy dogs. And then they have a very questionable scene for children in the other world where they are in their underwear and their
like
boobs
very
are there.
naked almost. And like, and then there's like, so I guess like the other world is just like transforming people into whatever the weird idealized version of them is. So like there's the scene where like the older women shed their entire bodies and are suddenly younger and like way skinny. And then you have the Chernobyl survivor who literally just turns into rats. Why is that the more ideal version
his
of
rats,
him?
like his mice were able to have the circus. He did.
I know, but it's they just took him out. It's like, you're made of rats now.
The dad is made of gourd.
Okay, I get it. I'm just saying, this is like, why? Yeah. Those are the only weird ones. They're just like, why are they there? I guess it's just like to show that if you're living in a place with a bunch of different people, odds are some of them will be weird.
Yeah.
And that just has to be okay. And if you're a kid, like, of course you would go meet the weird neighbors.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think there's the garden. I think that's another interesting aspect to Coraline, and that she likes to garden. She wants to garden, and her parents write garden articles and stuff. Garden stuff. But they hate to garden. It's like, what?
Then why is that your whole thing?
Yeah. And I think that's like another level is like, this woman is a fraud.
Yeah.
She is a fraud. She is worse mom.
I don't know about worse mom. I've seen worse moms.
Yeah, that's true.
Mom
Carrie
from Carrie.
exists.
Yo, we did not even plan that. We were on the same wavelength.
That's worse mom. That is worse mom.
Worst mom is Carrie's mom.
Yeah, she's like second. She's in the town of worst moms.
There's like a handful. Yeah, they just all live together.
Yeah, they're in this
little
town.
But she's definitely not great.
No.
I don't want to hate on her too hard. She's just definitely like, I hate my life, but I'm also a mom.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It's just, she doesn't hate Coraline. She just hates that she's here.
Yeah, she just hates that she has to do this
situation. There's like implication of like this possible car crash that was Coraline's maybe fault.
Yeah.
So it's
but
like
it's
there's
still
a
your
lot
kid.
of things at play, and it is still your kid. And your kids do need to know that you're human, but you also just shouldn't like traumatize the crap out of them.
Yeah.
Because like the worst thing you can do to a kid is make them feel insignificant, because they're gonna process that and feel that forever, and they will try to find significance in things that will not make them feel that, like alcohol or drugs or random people to have sex with. Like, you just need to be really mindful. Like, if you make your kid feel like they're nothing, they're gonna act like they're nothing. Like, it's like the self-fulfilling process. You're the one who decides what their self-worth meter is.
Yeah.
They've imprinted on you, and there's nothing to do but to help it.
Yeah.
But they love you, and they want you to like pay attention to them, and you can't do that all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, you don't gotta be like, ugh, you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Child.
And that's hard if it's all like moms nowadays, parents nowadays, they don't get a break.
Yeah.
Coronavirus time, they're in front of you all the time. There's room for error. But if they're gone all day, and they still come back, and you're just like, ugh, that's not. You should want to see your kid.
Yeah, I think
sometimes
Coraline's mom really just doesn't like her life, and she made a lot of decisions to get here, and she's just kind of dealing with it. And she needs to to get a hobby, do some cardio or something. Like, you got to go out and play in the dirt.
She's clearly depressed too. Like, she doesn't go to the store. Like, you see how empty the fridge is. She's kind of.
They haven't unpacked any boxes.
Yeah, like she's still very much like in this kind of detached state. And she's kind of processing whatever the heck she's processing, and still has to be a parent.
Yeah, and it sucks that the other parent is also like a nothing person without the other parent. So it's like you got two parents down. Yeah. Yeah, they haven't unpacked. They haven't done anything. I think one of the saddest parts or scenes is actually like when they're shopping for Coraline's uniform. One, I think we can tell that this family has money issues. For one, they had that accident and the car is still damaged.
Damaged, yeah.
And so there's the part where Coraline wants those colorful gloves. And I think the thing with uniforms is, like, kids don't want to like look the same. And so, like, I remember I didn't have uniforms in school, but my younger siblings did. And one of the things that we did so that they would feel at least a little better was, like, the shoes that they wore. Or, like, we would spend a little more on the shoes because we saved money from not having to buy them whole new outfits, right? Like, they had, the uniforms, but they had those shoes, which would be like their pop of their personality.
Yeah.
So they were still themselves.
Their flair.
Yes, their flair. And Coraline wants a flair. She wants her gloves. And the mom, is just like, no. And, like, I'll get you something later. And she's like, I wanted the gloves. And she's like, being a brat about it. But I think really what it is that she doesn't have the money to buy those gloves.
Mm-hmm.
They just moved. Clearly they're struggling. They have to get this book out. And that's a lot of pressure. And instead of like Coraline is old enough that you could have a conversation with her. Like, you could be real and be like, listen, I know you really want these gloves. Right now, we are hard up for cash.
Yeah.
I will get you these gloves when we financially can. And I don't want you to think, I don't want you to think that you don't deserve those gloves. Because you do. Because you're a child. And you deserve them. You deserve to have your flair. And just being real with her. Because I think Coraline's pretty smart. Like, she's like... She has her wits about her.
She's a brat, but she would understand if you took the time. I think that's
literally
like a big
bare
thing
minimum.
too. I think that's a big thing too, because that's something that's very much just like in a parenting thing. Like, even if you're giving like family therapy, a lot of the time parents feel like they have to put this like perfection guys up, like they're superhuman. They can't make mistakes because then their authority is shattered. They can't be vulnerable because the kid like needs to think that they have everything like together to feel safe. But I think there is like, I think it's important to be open and honest with your kids so that, like, one, the whole impact over intent, but that they know your intent at least. Because they're way more likely to be a partner with you in the journey if they know, like a lot of kids, when they're growing up, even if they have struggles, if they can see that their parent is working their butt off and they're trying.
They appreciate that.
They know that they're trying. And they're older, they're like, Mom tried for me. You know what I mean? And if you're not, you're just trying to act like everything's fine all the time.
Yeah.
But it's not, and they can sense it, and they're just frustrated. They're like, why won't you just tell me what's going on? Why won't you pay attention to me? Why won't you this? You're just treating me like I don't exist, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
And I can sense something's wrong, but you don't want to be around me long enough to tell me what it is. And it's just kind of like this like unspoken tension.
Yeah, I think Coraline really is just looking for literally any amount of affection and, wants to be comforted is I mean, it's tough for a kid to be taken from their friends and to live in this life and to be, she's like out there on her own. She doesn't like Wybe. That's the one option she has, and she doesn't like him. And like, tough. Sometimes kids don't like other kids, right?
Yeah.
So that's all she has. And then she's got these weirdos who live around her. And the mom just like, go outside and play in dirt. Like, I feel like if the mom gave her any, like, even the smallest modicum of like, I love you, I'm sorry. And at some point she does try, but it's like too little too late because she's gotten a taste of like turkey. Like, the mom doesn't even cook. The dad cooks and he doesn't cook well. He
cooks like weird food, like eccentric food.
Yeah, yeah. Or just like it's super savor food. It's like casseroles, and like we had to cook whatever's in our fridge, and we can only buy
it's
so much
definitely
food.
Like too fancy for kids kind of deal. Like, kids want to know this is chicken.
Yeah.
This is cheese. When you have like okra or like, I don't know, what did you say? It was some fancy vegetable.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it was. It was a fancy vegetable that's like, that is too many letters. I already don't think I like it. I'm picky. Like,
yeah. It doesn't sound like you said carrot. So.
Yeah, so like, I don't know what that is. It sounds fancy. I don't want it. It was like me when I was a kid. I ate mac and cheese. I ate anything with cheese.
Yeah.
Chicken fingers. Grilled cheese. Bread.
Yeah.
Bread or chicken. I would eat those things, and if there's anything else, I was like, no. But that was more so a thing. Like, I didn't trust adults, and I was like, if you're not telling me every ingredient, I'm not eating it.
Yeah.
You were poisoning me. You're not, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was just like, I don't trust anybody.
When I was really, really little,
set traps for Santa.
They would just tell me that it was chicken, and then I ate it. So, Which is funny because I don't eat chicken now. And
They
if you
did
told me it was
that,
chicken, I would
but then
eat
I
it.
found out their lies, and then I never trusted them again.
I wasn't very picky, so it was like, you're like, this is chicken. I was like, cool. And it was like cereal.
I was like, are you sure it's
I'm tired.
It's not.
Yeah, I think overall, I think it's a fun movie. It's cute. I love what Leica does. Like I like I've even watched like Box Trolls.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I
it's
love
beautifully
that.
done.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. It's like when we think about like horror, it's like we criticize it a lot. We criticize films a lot. It doesn't mean we don't like it.
Yeah, no,
I
we
love
love
watching
it.
it. It's such a fun time.
Yeah.
It's just like you also gotta acknowledge the things that aren't doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because time. It's like that's why we don't watch Law and Order SVU anymore.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't
we
age
know.
well.
Yeah, we know what it's like. Yeah, I think yeah, it's really cool. I'm totally blanking, but the score was originally supposed to be done by a specific band.
Okay.
And I'm totally blanking on what it was, but they weren't available. And so then the score became something else. But I really enjoyed the score. And and there's even elements of like the songs that come like as a prelude or it's like reference later that you're like you don't even notice, and then you're like, why do I feel like uncomfortable? And it's like, oh, because like, oh, that's like the Other Mother song, right? I think Other Mother is absolutely terrifying. I mean, so this week and next week our episodes are very similar. Like Coraline and our next episode will be about It Chapter 1. Those kids are going through similar, traumas. And we also have Yellow Raincoat, but also the spider. Like a big spider person is a penultimate scare for most children. Yeah. Like even if they don't know it. It just fair. Is.
You don't want giant spider times.
No. You don't want Other Mother to become emaciated and scary, sharp edges, and then many legs. And then bug furniture, which was the bugs that you found earlier. Like, it is really cute. There's all these little
nods to other parts, yeah.
And the story, so Neil Gaiman wrote this story because he had heard this folklore story of these two sisters. I can't remember their name. So bad today. I don't remember anything. There's two sisters, and they come across this girl who's like, I will show you this really cool thing, but only if you are really bad kids. And they're like, but we're really good kids. And they're like, well, you have to be bad or you can't see this. You can't see these two people perform. And so they're like, okay. So they go home and they tell their mom that we met this person that says we have to be bad. And then mom says, if you're bad, like, I'm going to be really sad. And they're like, but we have to. And she says, if you're bad, then I have to go away and your other mother will come and she will have like, she's like insect like, but she's not like exactly the spider, but the other mother will come and she has to be your mom now if you're bad. And that will make me really sad. I'll be gone. And they're like, okay. And so they like break something, but they're not bad enough. And that goes on for a while where they keep doing something. They're like jumping on the bed. They're being,
kids.
Bad. Yeah. And eventually they are bad enough and their mom just like disappears.
What?
And they're worried, but they run out. They did the worst bad thing they could do. They run out to find the person, and they're like, well, it's too late. The two people I told you were going to perform already left. So too bad. And they go home, and then they hear like the clopping and the sounds of the new mom, and she like doesn't have eyes or something. Like it's like she's like really, really scary, and that's like their mom now. It's like, and that's it. Like that's the folklore. And Neil Gaiman says like he read that was like, to him it was like this like, it was so interesting to have this like your mother is like your comfort, right? Like that's who you run to when you are scared. And so to turn that and make this evil mom that is like a result of you being bad. It was like, he was like, I just loved that, like, how scary that is.
And the graphic novel is like a lot scarier than the book. Or like the book is a lot scarier than the movie situation. Like they were reading, I watched a YouTube video and they were reading some like the descriptions. Like the other dad is like a blob with a mouth that's not a mouth with white webbing and like it was scary. Like the imagery that was created, I was like, oh no. I'm happy they didn't show this to the kids. But wow. What a
Yeah.
time. Like, it was written really well, it seems like, with, like, the way that they were describing the different scary elements. It was lots... There's things that you can't show on screen that are
Yeah.
just, like, when you have the words and you're imagining it, your imagination is way more powerful than
Yeah.
your eyes.
I think books are, like, honestly scarier than, like, film, because it's, like, you have to imagine it and put that in your head. And then otherwise, like, on film, it's like, it could be bad,
Yeah.
right? And so you're like, this isn't scary, this looks stupid, it's animatronic, right? But in your head, you're like, no, this is real. I
Yeah.
envision only real things.
And also, it's like you close your eyes when you're watching a movie and it's gone. You close your eyes and you see the thing that you imagined.
Yeah, it's still
when you're
there. It didn't
reading.
leave.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I think like Neil Gaiman has like we should definitely do an episode on him, because I mean, he's got Sandman, he's got the Graveyard Book, which I love. He's got The Ocean at the End of the Lane. Like, he has these stories that like, especially a Graveyard Book, it, like, on the surface looks like, okay, this could be for children.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like reading it, and so it's like a character of the kid, his name is Nobody, and the first chapter is that his parents are murdered, and then he ends up he's raised in a graveyard by ghosts.
Oh,
And it's like a whole experience, right? And
What a
that's why his name
time.
is Nobody, because he doesn't have a name.
wow.
There's a black girl in that too. I think she's black or she's Indian. I just remember that she was of color. I'm pretty sure. I'll look it up. Or maybe I just envisioned that because I was like, she's gonna look like me. But yeah, I always feel like I picked it up like, Graveyard Book, this is like gonna be a fun read. And then I was like,
Oh,
there's
no.
murder and it's scary and these ghosts are like, what? Even though the ghosts are like his family, they're really sweet. I think yeah, in the future we will definitely do a Gaiman episode.
Nice.
But Coraline, so yeah. Again, I like it. I think you should scare your kids. I think they should be a
100%.
little older, because there are like the explicit like old ladies in it, and it is scary.
Yeah. I don't know.
Not like super older, but like
Yeah. I'm totally about traumatize your kids, y'all. Like, not like trauma, but like, this is safe trauma. This is just they have a few nightmares and you have conversations about it. Like, everything's fine at the end of the day. And now they know that life can be that way.
yeah.
And they don't want life to be that way. They gotta be nice. So ultimately, you win.
You make them watch it, and then whenever they act out of line, you got to be like, should I get your other mother in here?
Just
Do you wanna go live with other
buttons in
mother?
a box with a needle in front of them? They'll be like,
Yeah.
nope. I am a well-behaved little person.
I'm going to clean my room, and I'm going to eat these green beans.
I already know I'm 100% gonna be like, you're hurting mom. Your actions are making me cry inside.
Oh, no.
My organs are weeping because you are being bad.
Oh my God.
How long do you want me to live?
Oh no. No. You're going to live in bad mom town.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
Where's
kidding.
mom town?
I'm gonna teach them empathy, and that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
They'll know I'm human.
One of my favorite stories is my aunt. She was separated from her first husband, but she has a kid from her first marriage. And there's just one time when she was like in middle school or whatever, where she like wasn't. She was like, "You're not allowed to do this thing." So then her daughter was like, "Fine, then I'll go live with my dad." And she said, "Oh, yeah?" And she picked up a suitcase, put it on the bed, and started packing it. And she was like, "Fine, then." And she was like, "No, Mom, I'm kidding. Like, I didn't mean it." So it's like, just do that, but for other mother. Be like, "Oh, yeah? Here's other mother." You
Yeah,
can
let's
live with
go.
skeleton lady, okay?
No hesitation.
Like,
You're gonna make idle threats. Let's see those through.
yeah.
You're gonna learn today.
Yeah. This is a good film to show your kids if you want them to respect you and be thankful that you're their parent and not this lady.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like be nice to your kids will be nice to you. Especially
Yeah.
in middle school. They give back the energy you give them.
Yeah.
You gotta.
That's a rough time.
They're gonna be miserable. It's not about you.
Yeah. If you move and take them away from their friends, you
They're
gotta
gonna be
give them some
sad.
extra time. and
Yeah, you
attention.
gotta pay attention to them.
even if you are, like, if you learn from inside out, like, those parents did care. And those parents were really trying. They were like, please tell us if you're upset. And she's like, I'm fine. And then she wasn't, right? Like, she kept trying. So, like, even those parents who were trying, like, did not win until it was, like, time, you know?
Yeah.
You just gotta be patient. So, yeah.
Or just, don't get married.
They'll eat your kids.
Yeah.
Or your kids will go to the other parents and they'll eat them instead.
Yeah, you had them, you didn't like them very much, they're gone now.
Don't get other married, because they'll eat your kids.
Or there'll be a gourd man. Or a gourd person.
A gourd person. Ew.
With a mouth that's not a mouth, and when they open it, it's just webs.
Ew, gross.
You're welcome.
All right, well, with that, good night.
Good night.